Well, here we go again, folks. The White House said to be delaying another Obamacare rule, this one prohibiting some companies from offering executives better health benefits than other workers get. But Steve says the government should never tell private businesses how to compensate any of their workers, period, right?
Yeah, David, if they knew how to do that, then the Soviet Union would have won the Cold War. They could just run the whole economy. And you've seen what government has done in terms of benefits and salaries to public employee workers. It's bankrupting government. And now they want to take it out of the private sector. Let the private sector decide. And if there are abuses, you've got lawsuits, you've got other things you can do, shareholders and the like, activist shareholders. Get the government out of the way. Let the economy prosper.
Rick, health benefits are a form of compensation. And as we just mentioned last time, incentives are at the heart of the free enterprise system. You can't take that away, right?
Look, it is certainly a fair question to raise, but I do want to point one thing out, just so there's perspective here. This rule has been in existence for 30 years for companies that self-insure under the ERISA law. They have been following this for a long time, and nobody was really screaming about it. Now, beyond that, you know, I have to be honest with you. I go back and forth on this. I certainly see Steve's point. On the other hand, we've seen a lot of things along the way where companies didn't behave as they should. It led to our OSHA department, our safety rules, things like that. So maybe it is fair game.
Well, Mike Ozanian, the point is, if the government can start telling businesses how to do some of their compensation, how long is it going to be before they tell us what we can pay employees?
David, for somebody in Washington who's a bureaucrat to think that they have any notion whatsoever of how much somebody should be paid at a private company exhibits an enormous amount of arrogance. Now, I know that most of them have that arrogance and they just want ever more power. But it's baffling that the public buys into this to any degree. They know nothing about it, either whether it's for the CEO or whether it's for a low-level employee in the minimum wage. They're clueless as to market forces, and they should stay out of it.
Well, Sabrina, the fact is that we were clueless about this being in the health care law because, like Nancy Pelosi, we didn't know it was there until we passed it, right?
Right, but this goes so much farther beyond health care. I mean, this is the problem with any kind of mandated benefits. One of the things that we want in the workforce is flexibility so that employees can find jobs that best fit their needs, and employers aren't burdened with costs that they can't afford. But when the government steps in and mandates, whether it's health care benefits or paid leave, all of these actually limit flexibility and choice and limit the ability for employers and employees to negotiate appropriate contracts.
And EMAC, this is the kind of meddling that's slowing up our economy right now, isn't it?
I agree. Listen, get this. This is effectively having a pay czar at the IRS, because the IRS has to enforce this. The IRS has to define who is highly compensated and what are rich benefits. This is more lunatic complexity from the government as they're defining what is utopian benefits that no one can afford in health reform while they're uninsuring the insured. That is what's going on right now.
And Rich, out in Silicon Valley, the rarefied air out there, they're always using compensation packages to lure employees in, but this would take some of that out of their hands, right?
Every company, that I know of has a key person policy where you just take care of the people who are vital for the future of your company. So the insurance companies themselves who are providing this key person insurance are going to require that those people get a higher level of health care. To put it in the context that people can understand, doesn't it make sense for the Denver Broncos to give Peyton Manning just a little, higher degree of health care than, say, the person who washes the uniforms?
Yeah,
the guy's had 2 neck surgeries. They've got a multi-million-dollar investment in the guy.
Right.
It just makes sense.
Well, and again, it's just a different form of compensation. But, Steve, the fact is this shows you once again how this health care law can deal with all kinds of ways in which we operate in this country and mess those ways up.
Right.
Well, right. And that's why if health care eventually is going to get back to what it hasn't been in 50 years, 75 years, David. And that is a free market system with effective safety nets like you have with food stamps when properly administered. And to put this in perspective, back in the mid-'90s, Bill Clinton put a $1 million cap on CEO salaries. That was so unworkable. It led to things like stock options. We all know where that led. Let the markets work. They will if you let them.
Well, Rick, we have a delay now. It's not the only thing, obviously, it's being delayed in this health care law. Is it going to become a permanent delay? Will it eventually be moved out of the health care law?
I seriously doubt it. Most of the things we've seen delayed are really delayed under time period restrictions. No reason to think it would be. I suppose anything's possible. Can I quickly say, though, why is everybody assuming that they will lower the quality of the executives' insurance rather than raise the quality of those other
income redistribution works, and that's what this is about. Sabrina, go ahead.
This is the same argument that we would use to combat the Paycheck Fairness Act, for instance. The Department of Labor says that people only bring home 70% of their compensation. 30% goes to taxes and benefits. And I think if people saw that on paper, they might say, hey, you know what? I'm willing to trade some of my take-home pay for better benefits, or vice versa. I think that time off is more important than my salary. So I just think that we need to think about this a little bit more broadly and the implications for all sorts of other benefit mandates.
Simple terms, the IRS gets a massive amount of questions wrong on their 800 hotline. Who's to say the IRS is going to get this one right in defining what is high benefits or executive pay?
Last word from EMAC on this one. Well, remember this during the hearings looking for communists in America.
Let us not assassinate this lad further, Senator. Look, you've done enough. Have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you left no sense of decency?
Well, now the IRS is doing something to a conservative group in Hollywood that has some here asking, does the tax man have no sense of decency?